Here on The Colour of Country Life, it's great to catch up with Nicola Centofanti, who's our new Primary Industries Shadow Minister. How are you, Nicola?
I'm well, thanks, Ricky, and how are you?
Very good, thank you. Now, just quickly tell us the portfolios you've been allocated under new leader David Spears.
Yeah, absolutely, Ricky. So, look, I'm really excited to be taking on Regional South Australia. So I'm the Shadow Minister for Regional South Australia, Primary Industries, Water Resources and the River Murray.
Yep, and living in the Riverland yourself, you'd know the River Murray, how important that is to that horticultural region.
Oh, absolutely, Ricky. As you know, I've lived my whole entire life, except for university, on the River Murray. And because of this, I think that places me in a pretty good position to not only understand the complexities of the Murray-Darling Basin and the plan, but also to understand the incredible importance of delivering water recovery through initiatives that have a neutral socio-economic outcome for our river communities. And that's really critical for the viability of these communities that lie along the River Murray. Water efficiency measures both on and off farm are a good example of this.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on Flow about the Murray-Darling Basin Plan and this additional 450 gigalitres for South Australia. It does appear, if I got this right, the difference in policy position between the state Labor government and the Liberal Party, here and federally, is that the 450 gig Labor seems happy to deliver even if it involves buybacks, whereas the Coalition's view is, well, it can only be delivered if it ticks that triple bottom line, social, economic and environmental.
Yeah, spot on, Ricky. And in my opinion, I think South Australia has done its fair share of heavy lifting when it comes to water efficiencies. I think we all want to see the 450 gigalitres delivered, but this can't be done at the detriment of water communities. And when we were in government, we worked closely alongside the federal government to deliver practical projects for farmers to improve water efficiencies on their properties, as well as investing in those off-farm projects such as locks and weir maintenance projects, and improvements to irrigation channels to reduce those water losses in the Murray-Darling Basin. And Ricky, interestingly as well, or importantly, the projects that focus on practical measures that farmers can take to become more efficient in their water use actually also creates business and job opportunities for other industries within their communities. So it can actually often have a beneficial socio-economic outcome for many of these river communities.
Now, you were a bit humble earlier. You have got another role, aren't you? The leader of the government in the Legislative Council, and don't your new portfolio responsibilities put you sort of head-to-head with fellow MLC Labor's Claire Scriven as the new minister for those portfolios?
Yeah, it does, yes. And look, I was very honoured to have been elected by my colleagues as leader of the upper house. And I'm going to be working hard to ensure that not only do I meet their expectations, but I exceed their expectations. And I guess as leader, I'll be the chief representative of the opposition in our chamber, and I'm responsible for presentation of the opposition's view in the Legislative Council on a large number of pieces of legislation. Yes, I guess, as Shadow Minister for Primary Industries, I will be going head-to-head with the Honourable Claire Scriven, and looking forward to having that debate in the chamber.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around post-Anzac Day about the agriculture visa, which horticultural and other groups have been pushing for some years now to get a commitment out of the Coalition. They've delivered on that, but now Labor is saying, well, they're going to kind of restrict that to Pacific Labor. Agriculture Minister David Littleproud has referred to South Australia's scheme for getting workers from the Pacific as the gold standard for the nation. Do you have any concerns about going forward, whether we'll be able to get workers for the Riverland and the rest of the state in the immigration arrangements?
Yeah, look, Ricky, it is a bit of a concern. I mean, under the current federal government and our previous and previously with us in government at a state-wide perspective, we've been able to find the workers that we've needed under the Pacific Islander Labor scheme, and moving forward as well, that is what the AgVisa is designed to do. We've been very successful in the Riverland as a state government as well. During the COVID period, obviously there were some issues there, but we were very proactive in developing the quarantine facility at Paringa, and that really kick-started the movement of those workers from the Pacific Islanders into South Australia. I'd be asking the agricultural minister, what is she going to be doing to make sure that we are continuing to get workers to pick our fruit. And to be honest, Ricky, my understanding is that the AgVisa, Vietnam is the only country to have signed the memorandum of an understanding with the federal government. And my understanding is that's because the ACTU have been going around with a bit of a scare campaign. And so, I think I'd really like to see Minister Scriven explain how she's going to solve the farm labour shortage without upsetting, her union friends at the ACTU.
Yeah, the assertion that had been made by one of your coalition colleagues across the border in Victoria was that the AWU was going around to embassies trying to dissuade them from signing up for the AgVisa. So plenty of politics to be played there. Look, I just wanted to check in lastly. I'm pleased to hear you call it the Agriculture Ministry, because I still think of it that way myself. But the fruit fly situation in the Riverland, we've grown up with it, you and I, watching that very closely, and eternal vigilance, and now there's got it's probably one of the worst situations there's been for a while in terms of shutdown of local sites, etc. But are you happy with the arrangements there about keeping fruit fly under control in SA?
Yeah, look, Ricky, obviously, we've seen some more outbreaks of fruit fly in the Riverland over the last few weeks. One of these outbreaks has affected my family citrus farm, so, I've got first-hand experience on the stress that this places on growers. They are extremely anxious and concerned about what this means for the future of the Riverland, being a fruit fly-free area. I have spoken to Minister Scriven. My understanding is that the Labor government have indicated that they will continue the funding and resources that the Marshall Liberal government delivered under our 4 years to continue to treat these outbreaks, and I'll certainly be lobbying them to ensure that that is the case. Keeping our state fruit fly free is vital, to the state's $1.3 billion horticultural industry, and being fruit fly free gives producers and growers better access to overseas markets, and as you would know, Ricky, there is then not the additional cost involved for the growers for chemical treatments or cold storage or irradiation of fruit. And let's not forget, the horticultural sector employs 37,500 people in South Australia. So it is really critical for jobs and the economy.
Yeah, we certainly hope we do get on top of that, but it is a tongue twister, fruit fly free. I'll slip over on it regularly. You've done well there.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look, can I just also, in terms of biosecurity, I think it's important that we also don't forget about our wine industry and the real risk of phylloxera and the threat that poses to our wine industry, and in a broader sense to our beautiful wine regions around the state that not only provide us with an enormous amount of revenue in relation to tourism, but also creates employment in our regional communities and really helps put our great state on the world map. So, we really must ensure that there is adequate funding to continue to protect this valuable industry as well.
Well, Nicola Centofanti, thanks for that, and we'll have plenty to keep in touch with over the next few years. Thanks for your time today here on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky.